Hi, welcome back to another video. My name is Kara Michelle and I'm here to help you live your truth. And today we are on A Course in Miracles, Chapter 3, Part 3, and Lesson 18. So this is a good one. I think it'll be pretty quick, but it'll be good. So let's dive in. So Chapter 3, Part 3 is called Perception versus Knowledge. And it's basically saying how so far it's been talking a lot about perception and not as much about knowledge. And that's because we need to understand that until we have a handle over our own perceptions, we need to understand the difference between the two of them, because knowledge is fact and it's something we are certain of and there's certainty to it. Whereas perception is individual, and perception is very much based on our past, our stories, and our belief patterns, right? So anytime that we've talked about perception and your own thought patterns and what you're noticing in the world, it's always based on your view and what you think is true, what you are giving your energy to, right? Whereas it's not really fact-based. And a lot of times we feel like it's the truth because we're so consumed by it and it's all that we know and all that we've interpreted or experienced. But the real knowledge, that's actually totally different than our perception. So something it says in here is misperceptions produce fear and true perceptions foster love, but neither brings certainty because all perception varies. And as I've mentioned in another video, this is why it can be hard sometimes when we're having discussions with other people to see eye to eye, because their perception and what seems true to them can be so incredibly different from our own. And it's because of our own experiences, our stories, the way our mind has been focused, and the way our reticular activating system is picking up on certain things throughout our life. It's dependent on our experiences growing up, what our parents said, how they treated us, what kind of trauma we had, all these different things that really affect our own perception of the world and of ourselves. And so it can make it very difficult to see eye to eye. And I think one of the amazing parts of A Course in Miracles is realizing that this is a truth, right? Realizing that everyone's perception is different and that everyone brings their own view to the table. Because when you can even understand that and see that, then it's a lot easier to take less emphasis from people's words, right? To realize that you don't have to people please everyone, you don't have to have everyone agreeing with you or liking you, you don't always have to see eye to eye. There are going to be times where your perceptions just don't match up. That doesn't make one person right or one person wrong. It just means that we have different experiences and beliefs. And obviously there are, I wouldn't say wrong, but I mean, like, I'm not talking about crazy intense things or hurtful things or harming people. I'm just talking about in general our perceptions and understanding how we might not see eye to eye with things. So let's see, what does it say next? It also says that the miracle is a way of perceiving and it's not knowledge, and questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. The miracle or the right answer corrects them. And so the way I really see this is, even when we look at a miracle and something that happens, we usually can't explain it. We can't explain how. And the more we question it, the more we're undoing the miracle for what it is. The more we're trying to demystify something that's meant to be mystified. And it's meant to be magic and just something that's created and positive and miraculous, hence being a miracle. But the more we try to question it and dive into it, we're actually just kind of undoing that. And it's it's even like with Santa Claus. When we're little, that is the thing we look up to, and it's magical, it's so mystical, we can't understand it, we want to know more. Well, the more and more you ask questions about it, and the more and more you're trying to break down how all these things work, and you get to the bottom cause, and then you find out there is no Santa Claus, you've really just undone the whole miracle with all these questions and all this trying to understand everything so that you can perceive it properly. So that's that little tangent there. How you perceive at any given time determines what you do, and knowledge is timeless. And there was one other part in here that I really liked. I'm just trying to find it. The closed mind believes the future and the present will always be, or will be, the same. And this is where this whole, where all of this work comes from, right? And looking at our beliefs and our thought patterns, because as long as we continue to think the same way we are, the future is going to be the same, because we're living from those same patterns and those same ways of being. And if we start to live and see, if we look at the world in a new way, that's when the future can become different. That's when we change our present moment to create a new future, versus living in the past every single day and therefore creating the exact same thing every single day and being miserable about it. But we're not taking the action to create a new future by changing who we are right now and changing different habits and things like that. It says, when you love someone, you have perceived him as he is, and this makes it possible for you to know him. Until you first perceive him as he is, you cannot know him. And when you say you're acting on the basis of knowledge, you are really confusing knowledge with perception. So a lot of times, a good example with this is just like initial judgments that we make towards people. We perceive them, and based on our past stories and our individual beliefs and thoughts around that, we're going to see them and we're going to perceive them a certain way and project our own judgments. We're going to assume things about them and their life. But until you actually know them, until you have the knowledge versus the perception, right? That's the difference. When you have the knowledge, that's when you actually can understand them, and you are going to be able to see them better. Because it's like, everyone has a story, and this is something that's been huge in my life ever since my brother passed away and a bunch of other things happened. I really realized how every single person has some kind of pain and suffering and hurt that I know nothing about. And I can judge someone or perceive them a certain way, but until I actually know what they're going through right now, or what they're thinking, or what their life's been like, I really don't know anything about them or their life or what they're going through. So that perception and the judgment is such a heavy thing in society nowadays, and keeps us not only judging ourselves, but judging others, and it keeps us stuck in this loop. And it's, as always, a fear-based loop and a really negative loop, instead of a loving place of realizing, like, I don't understand everyone, but let me show compassion for them. And let me be a kind and caring person, because they probably are fighting a battle I know nothing about. And how can we meet in the middle somewhere? How can I just be a good, genuine person? So when you carry those perceptions and you don't actually have the knowledge behind it, you are just projecting and creating an image of someone that could be absolutely not true at all. And you'll never know until you know more about them. And it is timeless because it is certain. So when you actually have the facts, then you truly know. But just going off your own perception of what you think is going on, or what you think about that person or that situation, is really not solving anything. And it keeps you in that loop, that negative feedback loop in your mind, probably in some anxiety and discomfort and overwhelm, versus actually just knowing the facts. So knowledge is always power. And not just perceived knowledge, where the ego is telling you it knows what's best, or it knows that person's story, or it's assuming something. That is still perception compared to actual factual knowledge and true knowledge of the situation. So when you're attacking error in someone else, you will hurt yourself. And attack is always made upon a stranger, and you're making them a stranger by misperceiving them. And as long as you misperceive them, you cannot truly know them. So it's really all about understanding that difference between perception and knowledge, and learning how to be compassionate, how to be loving to these people, no matter where they are in their life. So let's go to lesson 18. So lesson 18 says, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. And so today you can look around your room and see kind of what you notice, like this door. So I would say I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this door. And I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see that plant or those books. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see something, because we all have, we're all experiencing it, right? We're all seeing things, although our perceptions might be different in general, especially when it comes to like maybe some more basic things like I just used as examples. We're not alone in how we see these things, because we all know, we all have like perceptions around a book and what a book does, what it means, how it works, right? So we're not alone in experiencing these things, but it's just another good practice for you to connect with your thoughts, kind of see what comes up, and also just reattach to your own perception and what stories you're telling yourself. So let's leave it there for today. I'm excited to get into the next one tomorrow, and I'll see you there. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe, and I'd love to have you stick around. So take care. We'll talk tomorrow.